Hey everyone, welcome. We are going to do a little bit of a review. We're going to talk about some new business prospecting from there. So first off, want to make sure that you guys are going through and doing all of those worksheets. Get those things done. If you haven't done it yet, go ahead and just hit a review of last week because we want to know going into this week what are the things we did well, what we were challenged with, and our critical focus to go into the new week. And part of that should be more of what we did well, less of what challenged us, but also just a quick focus on how many points we had last week and what we can do to gain more points in the week that's coming up. So other than that, what I want to talk about is as we transition into prospecting. We had talked all about this toolbox, this toolkit that we put together. And this toolkit should be made up of some social media tools and then we also talked a little bit about like an elevator pitch and some things like that. So before we get into all of that stuff, because as we start to message out, there's a couple things that we need to know and there's a couple things that we need to do. And sort of first and foremost is we have to understand who we're talking to. So we have to understand who our audience is. And so one of your exercises for this week is going to be to describe what your customer is. We need to develop who this ideal client is for us, and so we need to understand, geography-wise where they're at, income-wise where they're at, demographic-wise. Are they a family? Are they a millennial? Are they a first-time buyer? Are they a vet? But we need to get our ideal customer wrapped up first. And don't get me wrong, we're not going to turn down any business, and we're not going to refuse anything that is outside our ideal customer. But part of what we're looking to do with this whole process is we're trying to get a lot of referrals. And like refers like. So what I mean by that is, if we say that we want to work with veterans usually hang out and know other veterans. And so what ends up happening is, if you do a great job for vets, they're going to refer you other vets because that's what the identity we built is. So we need to make sure that we're putting out a message that's consistent with who our ideal customer is. And so, but the very first step in that is we need to really put some thought and we need to describe this ideal customer. So once we have that, then we can start to craft a message that goes to that. And I'm certainly available to work with you guys a little bit more individually on that because there's probably going to be some questions. But in general, we'll talk a little bit about the kind of message that we want to send to them. And you just have to understand that we're trying to be different. We're trying to be better. And so many times, and I've talked about it in some meetings before, we see these realtors and we see, these LOs and we're going out and we're hearing things like, if you know anybody that wants to buy or sell a home, if you know anybody that's refinancing or is purchasing a home, I'd love to help them. And that's great, but it's not different and it's not better. And so we just have to understand we have to start moving into a much more unique approach to that. And as we develop that unique approach, that's what we're going to use as our introduction in social media, and that's what we're going to use on LinkedIn, and that's what we're going to use when we meet people in person, whether it's at an event or maybe it's at a happy hour, maybe it's at a networking event. So just to understand that this stuff all kind of works together, but we have to start off with who is our audience, who are we talking to. From there, we have to understand really the message that we're giving to them. And so when we get into that message, we get into that elevator pitch, again, it's going to be a little bit crafted toward what market we want to work with, but mostly we need to answer 3 questions very quickly. And those 3 questions that are in the subconscious of people's minds are, who are you, what do you want, and what's in it for me? And so when we talk about who you are, in most cases, we don't need to go on and on about years of experience or the company that we work for. It could be as simple as your first name and the company. I'm MJ with Map to Sales. We don't have to get into too much detail about it because we're going to save that for later. We really want this to be about them. So we just, again, who are you? I'm MJ with Map to Sales. And what do you want? Inherently, every time we do one of these, what should be in the back of our mind is help. And so that word help has to be in there. So I'm MJ from Map to Sales. I help. And then whatever your value proposition is, but we need to put some thought into this. Why do people want to work with you? What is it about you individually that's going to help them? Maybe you have expertise, maybe you have resources other people don't, maybe you do marketing better. And this is why I say we have to really put some thought into this and be individualized about it. I market your home more effectively, or I have more experience, or I specialize in X neighborhood, X area. But you have to have a very specific value proposition on what it is you help them do. And then from there, what's in it for them is, again, we're going to be creative. It's a faster buying process. It's a, worry-free, pain-free buying process, or it's closing quicker, or, marketing their home better so that it sells faster. But those are the three components that we need to understand. Who am I, which is just very brief. I'm MJ from Map Sales. I'm Lisa from whatever realty company. I'm Joe from whatever realty company, or I'm Joe from whatever mortgage company. From there, we transition into I help people just like you to do whatever it is you think your value proposition is, to move into their dream home, or to save money every month, or whatever that value is. And what's in it for them is in order to fulfill their dream of home ownership. Or, I help vets like you get through the transition of moving back into, a home in the area. So just put thought into that. Who am I? What do I want? Which is I want to help. And then what's in it for the customer? I want to help you move into your dream home. I want to help vets. I want to help save money every month, whatever that value proposition is. And so once we get this crafted and we really get this tightened up a little bit, then from that point on is where we can start moving into how we use this, how we use it live, how we use it in video, how we use it on Facebook, how we use it on Instagram, how we use it in LinkedIn, which are the big three that we're really going to focus on. How we use it in text message marketing, how we use it in email, because I know a lot of you have company email systems that you can run drip campaigns, but we're gonna be very specific about how we send out those. And again, I sent you guys the schedule a couple of weeks ago of exactly sort of how to mix that stuff up, right? The method and the message, if you guys remember. So we're going to switch up the method every time, and we're going to switch up the message every time. But within all that, we have to reinforce that identity of who am I, what do I want, what's in it for you. Next week, we're going to start going into very specifically, not next week, the following week. Next week will be a little bit of mindset stuff again, but the next tactical video we do like this one, we're going to start getting really, really granular into Facebook. And I know that you guys hear a lot of noise out there, a lot of chatter, a lot of wind noise about Facebook. And we're going to start there because right now it's probably still the most widely used, depending on your market. But for the most part, we're still going to start there. And I'll actually have a guest on who's a Facebook expert, and he's going to reinforce some of the general concepts that we talk about, probably give you some specific advice on his own. But one of the key things to remember is we still want to give that message, and that's why we're going to really hone in, because by that 2-week period, we have to have this message really refined and ready to go, because we're going to start talking about how to use Facebook the right way. And one of the things I do want to cover with you guys right now is, what are we trying to accomplish by Facebook? What are we really trying to accomplish? Are we trying to sell a home? Or are we trying to build a customer base? Are we trying to build a base of customers that will refer customers? That's what we're really trying to do. And so I know that there's at least 2 other industry experts out there doing training right now. And I agree with them completely that we're using Facebook Lives incorrectly. And so what we need to do is we need to shift the mindset, and we just need to understand that if you're going to do a live at an open house, we're not doing it to sell that house. We're doing it to basically give a commercial for ourselves, meaning we're going to talk about the great house, but what we need to do is we need to tie that into what we do well, and be excited that, hey, this house is going on the market. I'm doing an open house today. This thing is not going to make it through the weekend, and let me explain to you why. I do a 4-prong marketing method, and then you go through whatever you do, or however that is, that this home is priced correctly because I'm so smart. ties back into that value statement. So everything that we do is going to tie back into this who am I, what do I want, what's in it for you sort of statement. But when you guys are doing these open houses, and when you guys are doing these lives, and when you're doing posts, I know a lot of you will do a static post, or you'll post a link and pictures to a home that you're listing, or somebody that you know is listing, and you're trying to drive traffic to that. But because of the way Facebook works, there's so much stuff that you have to deal with, meaning whatever number of friends you have, a very small percentage of those friends even see that. And I know that I've been doing this long enough to know that the realtors and the mortgage people have a ton of other realtors and mortgage people who are friends on Facebook, and they're not gonna buy the house from you. So what ends up happening is we waste sort of a post by posting a house on there, or posting an open house on there that's going to go to a small percentage of our friend base, which is a lot of realtors and mortgage people anyway, and then our other friends might be out of town. So the likelihood of us running across somebody who may find this information valuable is really small. And so what ends up happening is people just get used to scrolling past your posts, and that's the last thing that we want them to do. We really want people to spend time on your posts, and that's why if you're going to post a listing, at least in the body of the above it, we need to tell them, give them a reason to read about it. Let me tell you how I marketed this beautiful home below differently. Here's why this beautiful home below is going to sell within the next 15, 17, 30 days, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you average, or whatever your sort of claim to fame is on that. But just understand that that post does not sell the house. That post is to get people to read your post. That post is to reinforce that you're an expert. That post is to reinforce your value statement. And so I think that's just a little bit of a mind shift that some of you have to make, because you're so used to doing these posts, or you're so used to doing these lives, and you're featuring the home instead of featuring yourself and featuring why that home is going to sell. On the mortgage end, a lot of you are kind of doing the same thing where you're partnering with some real estate people, but we need to focus on that value end of it. If you're going to do a live, you need to talk about why the loan's going to close faster with you. You need to talk about why your rate might be a little bit higher. And we're going to go into this really specifically and give you guys some word tracks on that, and give you guys some scripts on that. But just understand that first and foremost, any post you do that is posting either a home, or is posting something mortgage related, something, if you're doing a live that you're going to walk through, it's a sales pitch for you. It's not for the home. It's a sales pitch for you. So you need to flip that mindset and show the home a little bit, but spend more time talking about why that person went with you, or why that home is going to sell, or why the last 3 or 4 people chose you, and you're excited about this new project that's going on. So to kind of wrap it up for today, make sure you did last week's worksheet. Get those filled out as completely as you can from memory if you missed a few days. I know you guys are struggling with that, so I'm going to try and send out some afternoon reminders to just, hey, grab your worksheet. But the biggest thing that you can do is just keep that thing with you all day, and just make it a goal to check a box. Look at it once an hour and just check a box if you can. Number 2, fill out the bottom section, which is what went well, what were my challenges, and what are my critical focuses for next week, so that we go into next week with another good plan. Try and beat your points from last week, so be consciously aware of those points. Once you get up into the 40s, it starts getting a little tricky. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to identify our perfect customer, and we're really going to build that, because we're going to craft a message to that customer, and that message is, who am I? What do I want? What's in it for you? And it has to be sort of specific to your target market, specific to that ideal customer for you. So that's sort of your critical focuses this week. I'm having still a little bit of laptop trouble, so I'm going to run a few hours behind. But I will get the worksheets posted tomorrow morning. Other than that, you guys are always welcome to call me or email me. My phone number is 480-436-1820. It's mj@maptosales.com if you want to email. But not enough of you are asking questions. Not enough of you are kind of getting involved in taking advantage of the resource that you have for working on some things at a little bit more accelerated pace, or just trying to get clarification on stuff. You're kind of waiting for meetings and stuff, and there's no need to wait. If you have a question, or if you have something you want changed, if you need your worksheet adjusted a little bit, just call me or email me and let's work through it. So other than that, I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.